We're going to talk about, first, why do bad things happen to good people? Now, there are many, many perspectives on this, but one of the key things to understand is that it's not that bad things happen, and it's not that there are good people. Now, you may say, William, you're crazy. There are, of course, good people, and there are, of course, bad things. What I'm saying is, these programming that we have within us are not always perfect. So you can have a good person with programming that produces behavior that causes not so positive events to occur. So that's actually a really easy way to understand that, is that even good humans have not so perfect programs. And who am I to judge if they're good or not? But those not so good programs or not so productive programs may produce not so effective outcome, which seems like bad things. Now, also life happens, right? It's about how we respond to things. And the respond to things is very much dependent on our programming. So depending on your programming, you may respond to a seemingly bad event or negative event in such a positive way that turns into opportunities. The reason I wanted to talk about this is that a lot of times entrepreneurs, businessmen, or executives, or people in sales, a lot of people actually find themselves avoiding success because they don't want bad things happening to good people. They want to avoid failure. They want to avoid missing out. They want to avoid being rejected. They want to avoid the negative potential consequences that may or may not be real at all. So the truth here is that we must begin to understand that it's the programming inside of us that actually causes the micro behaviors and the macro behaviors and then the outcome. So the person, whether they're good or not, these programs within them actually are the ones that impact their external reality. Now, of course, if someone identifies as a good person, they may also have a program that says, hey, bad things happen to good people. So if they have that program, no matter how good they are, not so good events may still occur. You see where the intricacy of the programming may be. So they may literally have a program somewhere that says, hey, by this age, at this time, something not so good would happen because that's what happens to good people. So we got to get rid of those programs, yeah? Because as you begin to realize that oftentimes people spend so much time thinking about what they don't want. Good people also do that, right? Someone could be really kind-hearted, do all these good things for themselves and their families and their society, but they spend most of their time worrying about what they don't want. Now, this is the next key part, is that if your thoughts are habitually focused on what you don't want, guess what? Naturally, your external world becoming your mirror or being your mirror, you naturally create events that may or may not be very positive. So good people can still focus on negative things. So now, how do you prevent that, right? How do you prevent negative events? Now, first of all, if you were to get rid of the notion of negative events or failure in your mind, you begin to realize all things are feedback. Good events, not so good events, negative events, bad events, whatever. All of those can be taken as feedback and or opportunities for learning. As excruciating and or as negative as some events may seem, what I always suggest is begin to perceive that there is always an opportunity to learn and grow. Because the human experience is full of opportunities to grow and evolve and upgrade and become the better version of us. And as you become the better version of you, see, it's not about the goal. It's about the person, being the person who can easily achieve what you want effortlessly just because of who you are. So I would recommend to begin to build into your identity that you naturally have good results. You naturally have good things happen to you, regardless of whether you're taking into account how much action you're taking, right? Taking massive action, putting in all of the hard work. Sure, working hard can be a very good thing, but if your mental state isn't in a very positive state, if you're not in a congruent state, if you're not in the right place mentally, in terms of your mental performance state, what you'll find is your physical effort oftentimes may or may not actually yield result, because your physical effort is there to bring to life the things that are in your mind. The creation that exists or began to exist in your mind are actually brought to life by your physical effort. So if you haven't yet designed what you want, if you haven't yet actually begun to focus on what you've designed, because you got to start designing first, then you focus on what you design, then oftentimes we leave things up to chances. And so a lot of good people out there, they leave things up to chances, and they also spend a lot of their time thinking about what they don't want. And what we play on the stage of our mind truly is a preview, in a sense, of the things to come, or of coming attraction. So if you want good things to happen for you, or to you, however you see that, you must begin to design what you want. Because in order to focus on what you want, you must begin to know what you want, right? So the better you know what you want, the easier it is for you to have good things happen to you, because you naturally can focus on these good things. And that actually dramatically decreases obstacles challenges, problems, and a number of things. And you'll find that also the increase of ease in your life and your life becomes more effortless because of your focus. So to summarize this topic, and to actually go even a little bit deeper in summary, is that bad things don't happen to good people. Bad things happen because of bad programming. Yeah. And whatever bad things are really simply are just feedback of the program not functioning properly or ideally or efficiently. So by changing how effective and efficient the programming is, we are able to mitigate our risk of experiencing something that is not so positive. And before all of that, if you simply have designed what you really want and you begin to spend more time thinking about what you want instead of what you don't want, bad things may begin to disappear because you spent most of your time thinking about what you want and executing on that. So to say one last thing, if you want good things to happen to you regardless of how good you think you are or not, if you really want good events to happen, good opportunities to show up naturally, and success to be abundant in your life, and love and happiness and worthiness to be free flowing in your life in such abundant manners, in such abundant manner, what you'll find is as you begin to design, focusing on the fact that you could have what you want, that whether you believe you deserve something or whatever you believe you deserve, you actually need to accept that you deserve more than what you believe you deserve. And as you begin to do that, as you focus on these things, you'll find that more and more good things begin to happen to you. So truthfully, it's not about bad things happening to good people. It's that there are feedback for programs that are not functioning properly, effectively, efficiently, and that once you change the program, the behavior will change, or the behaviors, and you'll find that good people can have great things happen to them because that's what you've designed and focused on. So this is the second part of week 5. We want to talk about what do you do if something that's not so positive happened to you, or with you, or for you, or however you see it. We're going to talk about some tools to help you be able to process them. But also, how do you pre-program in the future that you can experience better events? Now, like the previous recording, we've mentioned that a lot of events happen simply, even though we may think they're negative, they're feedback or opportunities for growth. Well, how do you handle it if you're in the midst of it, or if you ever experience it? So one of the best things to begin to realize is I can process these emotions, because emotions are oftentimes simply a feedback mechanism or a way to deliver a message. So hidden within every emotion, there is something to learn. And if you can pick that apart and begin to absorb the learning, the knowledge, the wisdom, you'll experience the growth, which then mitigates your risk of experiencing whatever it is in the future, especially you can actually decrease the risk of having to feel something negative. Now, is there anything wrong with feeling negative emotions? No, it's just that it's a way of our mind that it utilizes to deliver messages or feedback. And as you truly begin to consider, okay, if I were to have an event that I don't love or that I don't feel positive at the moment, or maybe I don't appreciate at the moment, the fastest way to get out of that is to realize two things. One is there are no unresourceful people, only unresourceful states. You got to get out of that state as quickly as possible. Yeah. So to do it, you got to absorb the learning as quickly as possible. So the faster you learn from it, the faster you get out of that state. And the faster you get out of that state, the faster you begin to shift. Yeah, you begin to shift and become more resourceful. And those who are the most resourceful also tends to find themselves in better situations that they have an easy time because they're resourceful, dealing with and or resolving. So the tool here is very simple. Now, it's going to challenge the mind a little bit. In fact, it's going to require that you take 100% responsibility and push yourself a little bit, yeah? Now, once again, I'm going to give you a disclaimer. This is not something that I'm claiming that you need to take 100% responsibility for everything in your life. Now, sure, of course, if something were to appear in your life, take as much responsibility as you want. And if you were to take more, like 100% responsibility, then you will take a lot more feedback, yeah? The truth is, it's a paradox. I'm not suggesting that you're responsible for everything in your life, but I am suggesting that you must learn or you should or it's an opportunity to learn. Yeah. If you could learn as much as possible out of all the experiences, then your growth, yeah, will be sped up and that you'll have an easy time. You'll have an easy time resolving it. So the first thing to do if you're experiencing something you don't love or in the future, if you ever do experience something that you don't want, in the midst of it, you must begin to ask, what can I learn from this so I can let it go? So I can let go of the emotion and the problem. Yeah. Because the emotion and the problem are intimately tied together. If the emotion disappears, you have the resources because you're in the state, a resourceful state, to be able to resolve the problem, most likely. If the problem disappears, then your state also will change. So they're interconnected very intimately. As you begin to ask this question, what can I learn from it so I can let it go? It's a conditional logical question. It's a conditional logic. Yeah. Because you're saying, hey, what can I learn from it? So if I learn from this, the problem disappears, right? So your mind will literally only give you the learnings that you need that will actually have a direct impact on the event being resolved. So if you ever find yourself experiencing something you don't love and that you don't appreciate, or that you just like, oh man, I wish this would pass, I just don't want to feel this way, whether it's a breakup or a business, feedback of some sort, something that you don't love, and or a number of other things in health and wellness, and or other family relationships, romantic relationships, just know that if you ever experience something that you don't love, a challenge, an obstacle, a trouble of some sort, you can actually begin to ask yourself this question: what can I learn from it? The learning of which will allow me to let go of this problem now. As you ask that question, allow yourself to be open-minded and accept new answers, accept new ideas, and new ways of thinking about life. You'll find that you become more abundant, and you'll find that your mind becomes more free, and you'll find that you're more in charge of your mind, because guess what? At this time, you have allowed yourself to fully be in charge of your emotions because you have learned from them. And anytime you learn from a negative emotion, the negative emotion disappears. And it's beautiful. You'll have to experience to really appreciate the full process. But from this moment on, I encourage you to ask the question, what can I learn from it? The learning of which will allow me to let go of the problem completely now. Begin to utilize this, and I wonder what kind of wonderful results will begin to occur for you in all the areas of your life.